Their faces couldn't have looked happier. Benimaru, meanwhile, was about ready to faint. I wasn't really sure what happened with these two women, but it seemed they'd established a clear pecking order. I would be a failure as a wife if I did anything to trouble Sir Benimaru. I will never ask him to choose between Alvis or me. Instead, we beg you please marry us both simultaneously. Wait, I can't. Don't worry. I've discussed this thoroughly with Lady Momiji, and we've come to the conclusion that someone of your ability, Sir Benimaru, would not have difficulty with this arrangement. What kind of conclusion is that? Benimaru looked my way, pleading for help. You know, this is just as perplexing for me, too. I'm not sure if I can do much. Understood. Under current Tempest Federation law, polygamy is permitted for the purpose of providing sufficient offspring for a species. However, the law as it stands, restricts any additional marriage partners to widows seeking to bear children. In this particular case, a second wife would not be allowed. Oh. Right, yeah, I remember that. No clue why Raphael's such an eager participant in this nonsense, but now I figured I could lend Benimaru a hand. Sadly, Alvis, in our nation, a woman can become someone's second wife only if they are widowed and seek to bear children. Now, there's a chance we'll change the rules once we make more progress on our legal infrastructure, but for now, we can't allow you to. I tried to sound as apologetic as possible as I dismissed Alvis's request. Benimaru nodded to me, visibly relieved, but any hopes that this would end the topic were quickly dashed. No need to worry about that, my lord. I've been doing some research of my own into the rules, and in fact, I just got married the other day. Huh? What do you mean you got married the other day? Like, with who? And doesn't that make it even more impossible to marry Benimaru? That was what I thought, but Alvis then blew my mind once more. But I regret to tell you that my betrothed has recently passed. Thus, I have fulfilled the conditions required to become Sir Benimaru's second wife. Huh? Wait, this wasn't because of the war, was it? Because if so, we've got big problems. But Alvis's argument was so deviously clever, protesting it all began to seem silly to me. Hang on a second, okay. Can you tell me who you married, exactly? That would be Fobio in the VIP box over there, Alvis said with a smile. Fobio's alive, isn't he? Benimaru and I looked at each other, incredibly confused. What's up with all this? I don't have any more answers than you. True. We didn't even need thought communication. It took just a few glances to have that conversation. Fobio carefully approached us, kneeling with a contrite look on his face. I'm really sorry about this. Alvis just started talking out of nowhere, and... No, like, you married her. And now you're dead. Well, about that. And so came the big reveal. Between Momiji's, Alvis's, and Fobio's guidance, I finally understood the whole story behind the plan, although it took a few moments. To put it simply, Momiji and Alvis had engaged in combat with each other so often that they had developed a kind of friendship. Thanks to that, instead of fighting each other, they decided to team up. They both had a common goal, after all, so how could they arrange it, so they were both Benimaru's wife. After racking their brains on the topic, they concluded the answer was to have Alvis marry Fobio. Then, after that, the wedded couple would go down to the labyrinth and battle to the death. Alvis emerged victorious, and now she was a widow, but since it was all down in the dungeon, Fobio was instantly resurrected. She said we could marry for real, if I beat her, but I think I deserve to have a cry about this, don't you? That was the motive for Fobio to play along, huh? Seeing him slumped over like this was so sad to see that I couldn't help but sympathize with him. Like, what does happen after this, then? Rigord, is this, legal? My lord, this is clearly the theory of power in action, the result of combining your wisdom and strength to gain what you want. As far as I'm concerned, it's completely on the up and up. It is. And Rigord, and Rogard were all nodding along with him. Seriously. I guess that, for monsters, what Alvis did was perfectly acceptable. You see, my brother, just how much determination Lady Momiji and Lady Alvis have shown for you. Please, be a man and give them an answer. Shuna was all for it too, then. And not just her. If you hate her, say it. If you don't want this attention, say so. That's all you need to do, isn't it? So why all the agonizing? Xian may have looked like she wasn't using her head, but this was actually a very good argument. She wasn't opposed to the arrangement at all. She was just urging him for an answer. No opposition so far, then nobody feels this is unethical or gross. And yeah, when it comes to monsters, survival of the fittest is the name of the game. The laws I've set in place are mainly there to ensure the strongest of us don't hog all our resources. As long as everyone's on the same page, and nobody's complaining, I don't see why I should object. Benimaru, how long are you going to stew over this? If you keep acting all indecisive, your father in the afterlife's gonna laugh at you. Zoe. You say that, but my father loved none but my mother, and they brought Shuna and me into the world. What's so wrong about me wanting to do the same? He was unusually agitated. Zoe's observation must have hit home. but he wasn't giving an inch. I am not saying it's wrong. You seem to be lost over who you love, but that's exactly why you should have children, isn't it? A man and a woman can't have a child if they don't love each other. If you didn't have any love for either of them, then simply tell them no from the start. But if you do have any sort of feelings for them, then take them and show us the results. That's awfully straightforward of you, Zoe. Surprisingly close to harassment, actually, but he looks so cool saying it, too. The guy drives me nuts. But this argument also made sense to monsters. I had forgotten about this, but you couldn't really have a child if there was no love involved. I guess Benimaru was at an impasse because he felt it'd be unfaithful to love two people at the same time, but choosing only one would make the other sad. That was why he had put off giving an answer all this time. I certainly don't mind that kind of thinking. But if he followed Zoe's advice and showed some results, wouldn't that solve his problems? Alvis, let's see who can conceive Sir Benimaru's child first. You won't beat me on that, Lady Momiji. My love is real, all I have to do is turn Sir Benimaru's heart toward me. I thought that'd be the hardest part. But either way, they didn't seem to be worried about much. It was just a matter of how Benimaru felt. Benimaru, we're in the middle of a national celebration right now. A place where we're meant to honor your military service, too. You're allowed to be as selfish as you want, alright. So please give me a sincere answer. Will you answer to the love of Momiji and Alvis or not? Which is it? If Benimaru says no, this conversation is over. But if not, Momiji, Alvis. As the samurai guarding Sir Rimuru, I may not be able to stay close to you for all time. If that becomes the case, will you still choose me? Benimaru was nothing if not sincere. He was even showing concern for their future. If he became a father and had no lingering regrets in life, he would evolve into a god ogre, and once that happened, and he gained de facto infinite life, would he be in any position to care for Momiji and Alvis? That was a good point. He was the only one doing the evolving, so his wives would be left behind. In assorted ways. It'd be kinda mean to ask for an immediate answer in a situation like this, wouldn't it? It was a little hard for me to picture it, but I sure wouldn't want my loved ones passing on before I did. And I don't mean anyone in particular, that applies to all my friends. So I could understand Benimaru's concern, and I thought Momiji and Alvis might be upset by it, but my fears were unfounded. That's not a problem at all. Once I raise our child, I'll find my own way to evolve as well. I agree. And even if evolution is not possible for me, I know that my children will comfort you in your loss. Wow. Strong women. Totally unfazed in their sheer determination. And when Benimaru heard this, he flashed a breezy smile. Sir Rimuru, will you allow me to take 2 wives, then? There was no way I could say no here, nor was I about to. Maybe I was setting a precedent I'd live to regret, but if people saw it as me making special exceptions in exchange for exemplary military performance, maybe it'd give them some more drive and motivation to work harder. So fine, then. Benimaru may pretend to be all gruff and unflappable, but he's actually very pure of heart. If I hadn't stepped in, he probably would have been single for all eternity, so let's just see this as the right opportunity at the right time. If there's anything I'm worried about, it's the job he faces loving both Momiji and Alvis at the same time. But let's just have faith that Benimaru can juggle that. Right. Time to give him some final words of encouragement. I hopped off my chair, transformed into a person, and raised my voice high. It is granted. By my name, I hereby authorize the soul union between Benimaru, Momiji, and Alvis. For monsters, marriage is treated as a union of souls. And that's more than just a metaphor, remember, you can't have a child without love. That's why I thought the new coinage here was appropriate. Hearing my words, a smile erupted over Benimaru's face. It was tinged with joy, his cheeks bright red, but he still stood tall as he hugged Momiji and Alvis. I thank you. And I promise you that I will demonstrate my full sincerity in loving them both. The majestic words from Benimaru made tears of joy flow from Momiji's and Alvis's eyes. They were so overcome with emotion that they seemed to be at a loss for words. Honestly, I envy Benimaru. A beautiful young girl on one side, a more mature beauty on the other, like having a flower for each hand. But as much of a late bloomer as he is at this stuff, I'm sure he'll have a lot of adversity to overcome in his future. Of course, I'm not really one to comment. I'm asexual and genderless at this point, so it's no skin off my nose. The Colosseum burst into applause at Benimaru's promise. Shuna happily congratulated her brother, and Xian was clapping proudly for reasons only she knew. I could hear some jealousy and resentment among the cheering from the crowd, but it just showed how much everyone cared for him. And so Momiji, Alvis, and Benimaru celebrated their new union in the midst of raucous cheering in the Colosseum. I'd like to move right on to the party phase, but we're still in the middle of an event here, and I want to get the evolution rituals done with first. For now, we'll keep it to just that announcement. Once this evolution event masquerading as a victory celebration is over, we'll have more time to hold Benimaru's wedding in an unhurried fashion. There's another party scheduled for later today, but hey, the more excitement, the merrier. So allowing the happy trio to return to their posts, I ordered Shuna to make the necessary arrangements for them, raising a hand to quiet down the incessant cheering. It was a very unexpected turn of events. I could see Gobble breaking down in tears out of the corner of my eye, and Phobio consoling her for some reason, but there was no time to think about that. Let's keep this thing going.